Welcome to All Things Possible TV. We're excited to have you here with us. I'm Kris, and this is...
I'm Bill. Again.
My business partner and my husband. We are excited to have you with us on All Things Possible TV. And today, you get to continue some of that awesome stuff that you were listening to or learning from last time. This episode is what is lurking in the basement of your subconscious mind. I didn't even know I had a basement to my subconscious mind. So this is going to be great information, and I'm excited to have Bill share that with you and give you tidbits of information for you to consider, for you to learn how to manage your subconscious mind better so that it's working for you, not against you. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bill and let him teach you today about your subconscious mind.
Thank you.
Take it away, bud.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, great. I'm excited about today. This is going to be fun. Last week, just as a review, we talked about the subconscious mind. A lot of the information I give you here, hardly any of this was new. You've heard it before, perhaps. And my intent was to share it with you perhaps in a new way rather than compare the subconscious mind to a computer, more to a greenhouse. That may have been a new twist for you. I haven't seen anyone else do this, not saying there's no one who has. But today I want to share you something that I have not seen anywhere on the internet. But first, let's review a little bit about what we talked about last week with the subconscious mind. We understand that our conscious mind, the one that we're aware of, is really only about 10% of our intellectual capacity. Remember that the capacity of the conscious mind, that by the time we reach age 21, we've stored almost 100 times more information than you would find in an Encyclopedia Britannica. If you're under 20, you might even have to Google that to figure out what I'm talking about there. But it's almost infinite capacity down here in the subconscious mind. The amount of information that is stored here, it's just amazing. But what we learned last week is whatever is in your subconscious mind got there by the words you speak and the thoughts you think. It gets in through the door of your subconscious mind. Remember, anything you think or speak drops down to the greenhouse. Okay? There's no other doors here. Okay, we are the ones who control access to the seeds that we put inside this greenhouse. Remember, this greenhouse is very fertile. It will water the plants. It will make sure they get the perfect amount of sunlight, nutrition, and everything. Whatever we put in, our only job, I would love a greenhouse in my backyard like this, that all I had to do was toss seeds in the door and it would grow whatever seeds I planted. But that's what our subconscious mind does. Is it will grow whatever seeds you plant in there. And the whole thing I was sharing with you last week is get very, very conscious of the words that you're putting and the thoughts, the seeds that you're putting here. Because if you don't like the way your life is right now, you're to blame or to get the credit, whichever way you want to look at it. But it's all up to you. You're accountable for the way your life is because of what you've allowed into your subconscious mind. And we do this unconsciously through negative self-talk and things that we say that we don't even think about. You know, how many of us say, I'm sick to death of you kids leaving the doors open? Okay? Our subconscious mind hears the words sick and death. Okay? I'm sick and tired. That just kills me when you do that. Subconscious mind takes in the word kill. Oh, we're supposed to be shutting the body down and dying. It takes a while, but that's the programming we're putting in. If you're used to saying phrases like that, and you're sick, or constantly sick, something to think about, and perhaps change the way you do life, the things you think, and the things that you say. Okay, very good. I told you we was going to talk about what's lurking in the basement of your subconscious mind. And the information here, you won't find very much of it on Google. As an intuitive healer, these are things, many of them, that I have discovered and found while working with my clients. Others of them I have learned from other healers. But again, very little information that I was able to find. Once I started finding these things, like, I need to know more about this. And a lot of it has been a journey of self-discovery, because there's just not a lot of information about much of this. But what I've come to understand is we talked about the subconscious mind, but what I've come to find and understand is there are programs, master programs, that are laying somewhere down underneath all of this that are controlling this too. So if we change, once we become aware of what we're doing, and we stop throwing bad seeds, weed seeds, into our garden, and we start throwing in all good seeds, it seems that they die off and the weeds keep going because of some master programs running somewhere down under here. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So if you will just humor me, I don't mean to say that there really is a basement. This is for illustration purpose only, to give you a word picture, something that we can visualize and associate with. We can all understand what it is to have a basement in a building or a home. And these programs run underneath the surface, but they control much of what goes on up above. So, with your permission, I am going to draw a basement. Now, as you can see, look carefully at the lines, and you can tell that I drew these lines, and I did not draw these. I had Kris do that in advance because she has a much steadier, more artistic hand. But that's okay. You get the picture. This is a basement. And what's lurking down here? What kind of monsters? What kind of blobs? Ghostbusters? What kind of things do we have down here in the subconscious mind, in the basement of the subconscious mind? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So, the first thing I'd like to share with you is that the subconscious mind, again, it can be a great servant, an awesome servant, or if we don't consciously control it, it can be a terrible taskmaster and take over our lives. And we think that our lives are out of control. But once we start to understand this, we really start to understand that we've been controlling it unconsciously. And when we do it unconsciously, we're not giving our subconscious mind the correct commands to what we're doing. So the first one I'd like to talk about, and these are things that lurk at a deeper level that seem to override the other stuff. You know, if one is positive and the one that's negative, and whatever is going on underneath is going to override what's going on up in here. This stuff controls that. This is what I've found as an intuitive energy healer. Broadcast messages. What is this? Well, what I've found is that when we believe something strongly enough, or take that into our subconscious mind, and generally I'm talking about negative broadcast messages, when we believe these strongly enough, our subconscious mind says, man, I'm going to do my +1. I'm going to go even better, okay? Rather than just believe it and me going out and doing what I can to create it, I'm going to broadcast it subconsciously to everybody in your energy field. And this goes on, we have our 5 senses. This goes on the level of the 6th sense. That the people just get a feeling for you and for your energy. And this is the channel that this broadcast comes in on, is that sub-visual, sub-vocal channel, call it what you will. But it's like a dog can sense fear. We sense these things, just not as consciously as perhaps the animals, but we do sense them. And it affects the way people respond towards us. A broadcast message will sound something like, I'm always going to be broke. Or it can even be a command. You know, in high school, guys especially love to go up and slap another guy on the back and put a sign on his back that says, kick me, okay? We can have, our broadcast messages can be much like that. Take advantage of me. Or, I'm gullible. If we truly start to believe that, the subconscious mind says, hey, that's important. I'm going to make sure everybody knows it, because it's very important to the master up here, because he's given me that input all the time. I'm going to start broadcasting that. I've found, especially ladies, that talk to me and say, you know, it seems like I'm always having guys trying to take advantage of me. And find out that at some point in their life, they may have started broadcasting a message, or their subconscious, that says, I'm easy. And that's a very sad thing. But it's easy. What's the easy part is to get rid of these things. And we'll talk about that when I'm all done as how we get rid of them. Today's video is just informational that they're there, to be aware of them. You do need outside help, as far as I know, to help this, to correct what's going on here. Up here, you just get conscious of your input, and you can change a lot of this. This here, to my knowledge, I haven't found a way to just teach a person how to do it on their own. We'll get into that. All right. Broadcast messages, and we can shut those down, and then what we do is we install a positive broadcast message. So if someone has a broadcast message that says, "Take advantage of me," we could install we'll find a broadcast message that's positive. Once we've canceled out the other one that says, "I am a powerful, amazing person." Whatever that is, whatever, and we work with the client. I work with my client and choose a new broadcast. So then we're broadcasting positive so that our results will match what we want in our conscious mind. We go down here, and then we go down here and get our results to match. Cool stuff, huh? All right. Another one is a despair anchor. It's much like the broadcast message, the despair anchor is, but it's more of a statement of despair. This becomes one of your core beliefs, your core truths. If you had 10 articles or 10 commandments printed inside the walls of this basement here, one of the commandments could be one of these despair anchors that says, "I'll always be single. I'm unemployable. Nobody will ever love me. I'll never get rich. I'll always be poor." And we can, as an intuitive, I can find out the exact wording so that we can cancel out. But this becomes just a core belief, a truth, one of your basic truths. And when it's recorded down in here, and you've got this despair statement that's recorded down in here, it takes an awful lot to overcome it up here. All right. The next one is a post-hypnotic suggestion. These are interesting things. Back in the 70s, and perhaps through the 80s, you heard a lot about in rock and roll music that they would play messages backwards. Many of the messages, post-hypnotic suggestions that I'm talking about, come from very heavy acid type music. It also can come from a lot of if a child or an individual, mostly it's teenagers, right, that spend a lot of time with video games, they can get post-hypnotic messages through those. The other thing that I've found is that most of the post-hypnotic suggestions actually come through dark entities. If you don't understand what that is, you might want to just spend a little time Googling dark entities. I'm not going to go into it on this video. But these entities, a being, correct, will catch us at a very weak moment when we're either severely depressed or maybe we're very, very sick or ill. And they will catch us at a weak moment when our mind is right in that wavelength, that brain frequency. It's called alpha frequency. Okay, it's right before you go to sleep, right after you wake up, somewhere in that almost hypnotic, it is a hypnotic state. And they will just drop a suggestion in there when you're in that state. So now you understand, maybe on the video games, do you ever see your kids, you feel like they're hypnotized? When you're trying to get them away from the video game? Any messages that come in at that time become hypnotic commands. You've all been to a hypnotist show, an entertainment show, and they have people that will stand up and bark like a dog or just do crazy things, and it's all fun to watch. And it's amazing how when a command, a hypnotic suggestion gets placed in the subconscious mind, how it just overrides all the other systems. And the person consciously can be barking like a dog and know that they shouldn't, and they can't stop. Okay? It doesn't just happen on these entertainment or on these stage shows. It happens in real life, and these come from dark entities mostly, but the other things that we talked about. Very damaging, very, very, how do you get rid of those if you don't know about them and you don't know what the command is? As an intuitive healer, I can find those. Again, I don't know how else you do that. If you're an intuitive, you'll be able to find them on your own. Okay, the next one is negative images. Do you have a picture of your mother hanging on the wall of your home? Maybe your grandma? Maybe a picture of your creator or some semblance of that. Something that's very, very important to you, and you hang that picture up in your home on the wall where you always see it because it's important to you and to remind you of something. Well, the subconscious mind actually can place an image here in the walls, and it will hang up a picture of something that it believes that you really want. And if you make a statement of, you know, I'm never going to be able to lose weight, we might go in your basement and find a picture of a great big round balloon with these little teeny arms and a little head sticking out the side. Ah! And this is a great big balloon. Okay, I'm being a little bit facetious there, but you understand what I mean. And your subconscious mind will hang that picture, and that becomes its goal and its focus to work towards creating you to be that picture. Okay? It can be a picture of you in your old age, you know, in the future. It can be a picture of you with health problems because at some point you believed maybe you had grandparents that were very, very ill, maybe even in a wheelchair and on oxygen, something like that. And you decided when you were 12 years old, you saw it, and you says, wow, that's how I'm going to be when I'm old, because that's what old people do. All the old people I know are like that, and so that must be what I'm going to do. And you get an image hanging on the wall here of yourself in the future as an old person in a wheelchair with oxygen tanks, have you be what it will, and your subconscious will work towards starting to create that. We'd like to get in there and take those pictures down and put up a new picture. Let's put up a picture of you at 70 years old, fit and trim, all your hair, all of it the right color, healthy, vibrant, and getting a suntan on the beach in Hawaii. How's that for a new picture? We'll create a picture that you want, one of your choosing, conscious choosing, and let's get it installed down in the subconscious mind. Okay, next one is Vanishing Twin. This is a very interesting one, and this you will find a little bit of information about. This one I didn't find myself. I became first aware of it probably 5-6 years ago. Very, very interesting thing, and I found roughly a third of all people have this. So ask the person on that side, are you a vanishing twin? Ask the person on that side, are you a vanishing twin? If they both said no, it's probably you, right? What this is, and there's no way to medically prove this, but this is what other people also have found as intuitive healers is, and testing and asking how many, checking with each client, that sometime at the moment of conception there were 2 and sometimes 3, much more common, 2 eggs that were fertilized. And so you have 2 little individuals starting, these eggs start multiplying and the cells dividing, what have you. And some point along in the gestation period, one of these doesn't form right, or for some reason the body sloughs it off. And it's so small that the mother may never even be aware that something abnormal happened. And so you've got one little body here that keeps multiplying and then becomes a little person who is born. But what happens is this little person here was aware on some level, on a very, very deep level, was aware of this other little person that was growing alongside of them. And they were twins, okay? When they lose that memory stays right here in this one. The memory of that twin stays. And it's not always, very seldom is it even a conscious memory. I have run into people that say, man, I always felt like I was a twin. But it will stay there with them, and they'll feel a sense of loss, of longing, and many times survivor's guilt, like we would in anything. When you're in a situation together and you're the only one that survives, people tend to feel incredible guilt rather than gratitude. It's a mixed feeling also. And they can go throughout their life looking for love and never finding a sense of complete satisfaction of love, because that primary love that they held right here, their first primary connection to another human being, failed. And they'll blame themselves, and they're always looking subconsciously down here to reconnect with that. And once we go ahead and clear that energy away, then they can feel connected to the relationships that they have at 100% level. They can also many times people just have not been able to find a good relationship, and once that's cleared, it removes all the barriers away so that they can find that relationship. Very interesting, I think very powerful thing to know if you have this energy or this thought in your head subconsciously of a vanishing twin, of having a twin that disappeared. Very, very powerful to clear that. All right. The next one we have is a will to die energy. What I found, have you ever at some point wanted to die? Even if one day you go in and you think everything's fine at work, and the boss comes in and says, we have cutbacks. We got to let you go today, so pack your things and get out. And just like, I just want to die. It happens a lot with that first love in high school or junior high, depending on when you started, and that big breakup of the first love, and you just think, I can't live without this other person. And it may not be you're not going to get to where you actually plan to commit suicide or anything like that. But even a little thought like that, and maybe you never went back to think it again after 2 or 3 days for the rest of your life, but that energy, that thought, gets locked up down here. It's still a program that's running because you put it there at a time when you felt a lot of emotion. Again, remember, thoughts that we think with a lot of emotion go in much, much stronger. They're much bigger seeds than the thoughts that we think with very little emotion. Okay? So when you're trying to create something and you really want to change your goals, don't just look at them with blank, bland expression of a voice and a face. Get excited. Get a little bit crazy. Put a lot of emotion into it. When you add emotion into what you're doing up here in the conscious mind, when you add emotion to it, it's like sending it down here to the subconscious, and it comes in highlighted with balloons and sparkles and everything all over it. This is an important piece of information because unconsciously, that's what we've been doing with the negative stuff. When we say I'm a loser, it's always very, very important. I mean, we bring in a lot of sad emotions, but there may be low emotions, but they're big emotions, okay? And the subconscious mind goes, this is important. I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to do the most I can with this, create a sad emotion or a happy emotion, whatever it is. Remember to add a lot of emotion to that. Very, very easy. Just takes moments to clear this will to die little program that's running down there. And amazing what that can do for your energy and your optimism. Just clearing a thought that you may have had years ago. The next one is your subconscious mind can be programmed down in here to very specific limits. Now this will be limits about something that you're trying to create. So for example, an income, if you're having a hard time with your finances. Your subconscious mind can actually be programmed to keep you at a limit, and as an intuitive we can go in and test what those limits are. Are you limited to $500 a month income? Are you limited to $1,000, to $4,000, to $10,000? What are you setting for a limit? Because what I found is that almost everybody in their subconscious mind, at some point, they decided up here that that's what they was worth. And it could have been when they was 12 years old and got their first job and was so excited. Man, I'm getting paid $8 an hour, whatever that is, and that's a lot for a 12-year-old. But when you get your first job and you decide, wow, if I get to be manager at Taco Bell, I'll be making $16,000 a year, whatever that is, and you're very excited about that at the point. A lot of emotion again, right? And so the subconscious mind goes, oh, we're going to shoot $16,000 a year is now the limit. That's what we're shooting for. When we've hit there, we're good, okay? Well, we're not a teenager working at Taco Bell anymore. Have we gone in and reprogrammed that? And that takes some very conscious effort to get that changed in the conscious mind. But quite easy to cancel that out and remove the limits so that your subconscious mind isn't sabotaging your financial success. This can also be in our body weight. Just recently, as I've discovered this, I asked myself, and I asked my subconscious, I went in intuitively, to find that I had limited myself to a body weight. And interestingly enough, in 2009, I decided I was tired of being overweight. And so I was going to run a marathon. I figured if I can run 26 miles in one day without dying, that, again, there's a little subconscious programming, huh? But if I could run 26 miles in one day, that I would be a skinny, fit, trim guy. And so I set my goal to run 26 miles. And I'll tell you the truth, I weighed 238 when I started training. And by the time, on the day I ran my marathon over a year later, and I did run the marathon and I did finish it all in the same day, no, thank you very much. When I got done, the day I ran my marathon, I weighed around 211, 212 pounds. It just surprised me. In fact, it got me on video camera crossing the finish line. My wife saying, "How do you feel after running your marathon?" I says, "I feel great. I never realized I could be this fat and run this far." Okay, but what I found even just recently, I finally checked and knew to ask if there was a limit here. And I limited myself. I had a body weight, an ideal body weight, or a subconscious programming to weigh 225 pounds. Yes, I was able to get below that, but don't you think that running a marathon and eating healthy and really working towards being healthy, running 26 miles, I should have been able to get, you know, a guy that's 5'9" tall, I should have been below 210 pounds. But now it makes more sense that I was trying to battle against this body limit size and weight that was programmed in my subconscious mind. We can have limits about relationships. Could you be programmed to never have a successful relationship? Could that be your programming? Could you have a programming in your mind that no relationship will ever last longer than 3 years, than 7 years, than 2 months? If that's you, you just felt a little and you sense that. Get it cleared. Make life a little bit easier. Obsession programming. This is something I don't find a lot of, but we can be programmed with obsessions that are counteractive and be obsessed with things that are counteractive to, in our conscious mind, what we really want to achieve. And that's something to check for as an intuitive also. Now, here's a fun one. There's core beliefs. Last week, we talked about in here limiting beliefs. Okay, limiting beliefs are, for example, about finances. I have a limiting belief that there's not enough money in the world. That's a limiting belief. Money is energy. There's plenty of it. There's an abundance of energy, and if money is just energy, there's an abundance of money, and there's always enough. But if we have a limiting belief that there's not enough, then our subconscious will make sure that we never have enough. And that's just one limiting belief. Another one, if you come from a Judeo-Christian home or spiritual paradigm, another limiting belief I find a lot there is that wicked people, that money is wicked, or money is evil, and rich people are wicked. And I believe it's a lot of misinterpretation of the word, but a lot of people will get limiting beliefs in this area about that. A core belief is different. A core belief is similar to a limiting belief, but it is, again, down here, it's one of your 10 commandments. It's very, very deep, and when it's a core belief. And if we don't ask for them specifically by name, they don't identify as a core belief. But there again, they will override a lot of programming that goes on up here. So we check for core beliefs, find out what they are, and clear them out. And of course, anytime we clear out something negative, we go ahead and put in the positive. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on down in the basement. I don't know where all of this actually lurks in the body, whether there's a basement, but I do know that these are at a deeper level and that they will override this programming that we talked about up here. I hope you enjoy that information. So now you're asking the question, okay, now that I know about all of this stuff, what do I do? And the answer I have for you is get a hold of me. You can email me at bill@allthingspossible.biz. You can call or text me at 801-638-7100, and I will schedule an appointment with you. I will do for you a free 15-minute consultation over the phone or on the internet with video conferencing and talk about what you would like to do and start into that a little bit, and so that you can get an idea of what I do. And if you choose at that point, we can schedule further sessions. So if you like what you saw, get a hold of us at allthingspossible.biz. It's been great to have you here with me today and to share this information with you. I'm excited about this because I believe that this will really change lives. And not only do I believe it, I know it, because I've seen this change lives in a big, big way. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week.